I was sitting in the attorney's office, listening to my grandmother's will being read, when I realized my uncle had stolen everything. The attorney, Mr. Dawson, had been my grandmother's lawyer for 30 years. He sat behind his mahogany desk, reading from a document dated 3 months before her death. To my beloved grandson, Marcus, I leave my gratitude for his years of service. To my granddaughter, Lisa, I leave my appreciation for her visits. I glanced at my sister, Lisa. She looked confused. Gratitude? Appreciation? Those weren't bequests. Those were insults wrapped in formal language. Mr. Dawson continued. To my son, Robert, I leave the entirety of my estate, the house at 247 Maple Drive, all financial accounts, all personal property, all investments and holdings. Robert has been my rock, my caretaker, my devoted son who sacrificed everything to care for me in my final years. My Uncle Robert sat across from me, expression carefully neutral, but I saw it, a flash of satisfaction in his eyes. Everything. He was getting everything. The house where my grandmother had lived for 50 years. The house worth over $1 million. The savings she'd accumulated. The stocks my grandfather had invested in before he died. The jewelry, the artwork, the entire estate. And Lisa and I got gratitude and appreciation? This can't be right, Lisa said. Grandma promised us we'd inherit the house together. She said it would stay in the family for all of us. Mr. Dawson looked uncomfortable. I'm simply reading what the will states. Mrs. Eleanor Patterson's final wishes, as documented and notarized 3 months before her passing. 3 months? I asked. She had a will before that, one she made 10 years ago. What happened to that will? It was revoked, superseded by this new document, which is perfectly legal, provided Mrs. Eleanor Patterson was of sound mind when she executed it. Was she? Of sound mind? Mr. Dawson hesitated. That's not for me to determine. The will was properly witnessed and notarized. That's all that matters from a legal standpoint. Robert spoke for the first time. Mom wanted to take care of the person who took care of her. I spent the last 5 years of her life caring for her, moving in with her, managing her medications, taking her to doctor appointments, sacrificing my own life to make sure she was comfortable. And we visited, Lisa said. Every week. We were there too. Visiting isn't the same as caregiving, Robert said smoothly. Mom recognized that. This will reflects her gratitude for my dedication. Something felt wrong, deeply wrong. I'd visited my grandmother every week for 5 years. We'd had long conversations. She told me about her plans for the estate, how she wanted the house to go to all of us, how she wanted Lisa and me to share in her wealth because we'd been devoted grandchildren. We can take care of the house together, she'd said just 6 months ago. You and Lisa and your families, Robert too, of course. It'll be a place for everyone, for holidays and gatherings. I want it to stay in the family. That conversation had happened 6 months ago, 3 months before this new will was supposedly written. Would she really have changed her mind so drastically? Would she really have cut us out completely? I want to see the will, I said. The actual document, not just hear it read. Mr. Dawson slid a copy across the desk. I picked it up, started reading. The language was formal, legal, but something caught my eye. The signature at the bottom, my grandmother's signature. I'd seen her signature thousands of times. Birthday cards, Christmas cards, checks she'd written me for graduations and achievements. This signature looked like hers, but something was off. The flourish at the end, The way the R in Patterson curved, it was close, very close, but not quite right. "Can I see the original?" I asked. "The original is filed with the court. This is a certified copy. I want to see the original. I want to have it examined by a handwriting expert." Robert's face hardened. "You're being ridiculous, Marcus. Mom made her choice. You're just upset you didn't get what you expected." "I'm upset because this doesn't sound like Grandma. She wouldn't cut us out. She wouldn't leave everything to one person." "She did, and you need to accept it." "I will, after I confirm this will is legitimate." Robert stood up. "Are you accusing me of something?" "I'm saying I want the will verified. If it's real, fine. But if it's not, it's real. Mr. Dawson verified it. It's notarized. It's legal. Then you shouldn't have a problem with me double-checking." The room fell silent. Mr. Dawson looked between us, clearly uncomfortable. "Mr. Patterson," he said to Robert, "Marcus has the right to contest the will if he believes there are grounds. It's not uncommon in these situations." "There are no grounds. The will is legitimate. Mom was of sound mind. She made her choice." "Then prove it," I said. "Let me examine the original. Let me verify the signature. If everything checks out, I'll accept it." Robert's jaw tightened. "Fine. Do whatever you need to do. Waste your time and money on lawyers. You'll find the same thing. Mom wanted me to have her estate because I earned it." He walked out. The door closed behind him with a heavy thud. Lisa looked at me. "Do you really think he forged it?" "I think something's not right, and I'm going to find out what." I didn't know it then, but that decision to investigate, to question, to dig deeper would uncover a fraud that had been years in the making. And by the time I was done, my Uncle Robert wouldn't just lose the inheritance, he'd lose everything. My name is Marcus Patterson, and I'm 34 years old. My grandmother, Eleanor Patterson, died 3 months ago at the age of 87. She'd been in declining health for the past 5 years, but she'd remained sharp, alert, herself until nearly the end. I'd been close to her my whole life, closer than most grandchildren, I think. She'd helped raise me after my parents died in a car accident when I was 8. My father, her son David, and my mother had been killed by a drunk driver. Lisa was 6 at the time. We'd gone to live with Grandma Eleanor and Grandpa William. They'd raised us with love and patience and stability, given us a home when our world had fallen apart. I'd lived with them until I graduated college. Lisa had stayed until she got married at 25. Grandpa William died 10 years ago. Heart attack. Quick and relatively painless. Grandma had mourned him deeply but had adjusted. She was independent, capable, determined to live on her own. That's when Robert had entered the picture more prominently. Robert was my father's younger brother. He'd always been around growing up, but distant. He had his own life, a career in real estate that never quite took off, a series of failed relationships, a pattern of asking Grandma for money when things got tight. Grandma had helped him. She loved both her sons equally, even though one was gone. Robert was family. Family helped each other. But 5 years ago, Robert showed up at Grandma's house with a proposition. He'd lost his apartment. Could he move in temporarily, just until he got back on his feet? Grandma had agreed. She had the space, and Robert was her son. Of course she'd help. Temporarily became permanently. Robert never moved out. Instead, he positioned himself as Grandma's caretaker. "I'm here to help Mom," he'd said when I'd asked about his plans. "She's getting older. She needs someone around." At first, I'd been grateful. Grandma was in her early 80s. Having someone in the house seemed like a good idea. But over time, I'd noticed changes. Robert controlled access to Grandma. "She's tired," he'd say when I'd call to visit. "Maybe come tomorrow instead." He managed her finances. She asked me to help with the bills. It's too confusing for her now. He made medical decisions. The doctor says she needs this medication. I'm handling it. Gradually, Robert had inserted himself into every aspect of Grandma's life, and gradually, he'd pushed Lisa and me to the periphery. Not overtly, he was too smart for that, but in small ways, inconvenient visiting times, saying Grandma was sleeping when we called, scheduling doctor appointments when he knew we had work. "You're being paranoid," Lisa had said when I'd voiced concerns 2 years ago. "Robert's just helping Grandma. That's a good thing." Maybe I was paranoid, or maybe I'd sensed something wrong. I tried to talk to Grandma about it. "Are you okay with Robert managing everything?" "Oh, he's very helpful. I don't have to worry about bills or appointments. He takes care of it all." "But do you want him to? Or would you prefer to maintain some independence?" She looked confused. "Marcus, dear, I'm 85 years old. I'm happy to have the help." I'd let it go. What choice did I have? Grandma seemed content, and I had my own life. A job as a forensic accountant, a wife, 2 kids. I couldn't be there every day. But I'd visited weekly. Every Sunday afternoon, I'd come by. Sometimes Robert was there, sometimes he wasn't. But I'd always spent time with Grandma, talking, listening to her stories, reminding her she had family beyond Robert. 6 months before she died, I'd noticed her seem more confused, more forgetful. She'd repeat herself, forget conversations we'd just had. "Is Grandma okay?" I asked Robert. "She's fine, just getting older. Her mind isn't as sharp as it used to be." "Have you had her evaluated for dementia?" "The doctor says it's normal aging, nothing to worry about." But I worried, because the woman I'd talked to that day wasn't the sharp, independent grandmother I'd known. She was softer, vaguer, more malleable. And Robert had been there, always there, managing her care, controlling access, making decisions. 3 months before she died, Grandma had been hospitalized, pneumonia. She'd recovered, but she'd never quite regained her strength. Robert had hired round-the-clock care. She needs nurses now, professional help. I'd visited her in the hospital. She seemed disoriented, weak, but she'd recognized me. "Marcus, dear, how are the children?" "They're good, Grandma. They miss you." "I miss them too. When can I see them?" "Soon, when you're feeling better." She'd squeezed my hand. "I want you to have the house, you know? You and Lisa. It should stay in the family, for your children." "Don't worry about that now. Focus on getting better." "But I do worry. I need to make sure it's settled. Robert says he'll help me update my will, make sure everything is proper." An alarm had gone off in my head. "Grandma, you already have a will, the one you made with Grandpa." "Do I? I don't remember. Robert says we need a new one." "Let's wait until you're feeling better. No need to make big decisions while you're sick." "Robert says it's important, that I should do it now while I can." I tried to talk to Robert about it. "Why are you pushing her to change her will while she's hospitalized?" "I'm not pushing anything. Mom wants her affairs in order. That's responsible." "Or convenient for you." His eyes had hardened. "What are you implying, Marcus?" "I'm saying Grandma is vulnerable right now, and updating her will while she's sick and confused seems suspicious." "She's not confused. She's perfectly capable of making decisions." "Is she? Because when I talk to her, she seems disoriented." "That's the medication. The doctors say her mind is fine." But I had my doubts, serious doubts. Grandma had died 2 months later, peacefully, in her sleep. Robert had been there. He'd called me at 6 in the morning. "Mom passed during the night," he'd said. "The nurse found her this morning. She went peacefully." I'd rushed over, found Grandma in her bed, looking serene. Robert had been calm. Too calm, I'd thought. But grief affects people differently. The funeral had been small, just family and a few of Grandma's remaining friends. Robert had handled all the arrangements, chosen the casket, written the obituary, organized everything. "Thank you for doing this," I'd told him. "I know it's hard. Mom would have wanted it done right. I'm just honoring her wishes." 2 weeks after the funeral, Mr. Dawson had called. "Time to read the will. Could we come to his office?" I'd assumed it would be straightforward. The house split between Robert, Lisa, and me. The financial assets divided, some specific bequests to charities Grandma had supported. Instead, we'd gotten gratitude and appreciation, while Robert got everything. Now, sitting in my car outside Mr. Dawson's office, I pulled out my phone and called my wife, Jenny. "How did it go?" she asked. "Robert got everything. The entire estate. Lisa and I got nothing." "What? That can't be right." "That's what the will says. Supposedly, Grandma changed it 3 months before she died." "While she was sick and confused?" "Exactly." "Marcus, that's fraud." "That's what I think too, but I need to prove it." "How?" "I'm going to examine the will, get a handwriting expert, look at her medical records from that time, see if she was competent to make that decision." "This could get ugly." "It's already ugly. Robert forged that will. I'm sure of it, and I'm going to prove it." I hung up and sat there for a moment. I was a forensic accountant. My job was uncovering financial fraud, following paper trails, finding evidence of wrongdoing. I'd never investigated a family member before, but the skills were the same. And I had resources, connections, people who owed me favors. I made a list in my head of what I needed. 1, the original will, to examine the signature. Grandma's medical records, to establish her mental state. Witness statements from the people who supposedly signed the will. Financial records, to see if Robert had been stealing before the will. Robert's background, to see if he had a history of fraud. It was a lot, but I'd done more complicated investigations for clients. This one just happened to be personal. I called my sister. "Lisa, I need your help." "With what?" "Investigating Robert, finding out if he forged the will." "Marcus, is that really necessary? Maybe Grandma just changed her mind." "You heard that will. Does it sound like Grandma to you? Cutting us out completely?" Silence. Then, "No, it doesn't." "So help me. I can't do this alone." "What do you need?" "Information. Do you have any of Grandma's old documents, letters, anything with her signature?" "I have some birthday cards, a few notes she wrote me over the years." "Perfect. Can you send them to me? I need to compare signatures." "Okay." "Marcus, what if you're right? What if Robert did forge it?" "Then he's committed a crime, and he'll face the consequences." "He's family." "He was family. If he did this, he stopped being family the moment he stole from Grandma." I hung up and drove home. I had work to do. And I wasn't stopping until I uncovered the truth. I started with the handwriting. Lisa sent me 6 birthday cards Grandma had written over the years. I also had 3 thank you notes she sent me after various gifts. 9 samples of her signature spanning 15 years. I laid them out on my desk next to a copy of the signature on the will. Even to my untrained eye, the differences were apparent. Grandma's real signature had a distinctive loop in the P of Patterson. The tail of the N curved sharply upward. Her first name, Eleanor, had a flourish at the end, a decorative swirl she'd developed over decades of signing documents. The signature on the will had the loop, had the curve, had the swirl, but they were slightly off, like someone had practiced copying her signature but couldn't quite get the muscle memory right.
The loop was too round, the curve too sharp, the swirl too deliberate. I took photos of all the signatures and sent them to a forensic document examiner I'd worked with before, Dr. Patricia Vance. She'd testified in several fraud cases I'd investigated. "I need these analyzed," I told her over the phone. "Priority. I think one of them is forged." "Which one?" "The one dated 3 months ago. The others are all legitimate samples for comparison." "What's the context?" "My grandmother's will. I think my uncle forged her signature." "That's serious, Marcus. Are you sure you want to pursue this?" "I'm sure." "Okay. Give me a week. I'll do a full analysis. Pressure points, stroke patterns, tremor analysis. If it's forged, I'll be able to tell you." While I waited for Dr. Vance's analysis, I moved to the next item on my list: Grandma's medical records. Getting them was tricky. I wasn't her power of attorney. Robert was. He'd assumed that role 2 years ago, supposedly to help manage her health care. But Grandma had signed a HIPAA release form years ago, giving both Lisa and me access to her medical information. I'd forgotten about it until I was going through old documents. I called her primary care physician, Dr. Morrison. "I need to request my grandmother's medical records, Eleanor Patterson. I have authorization on file." The receptionist was hesitant, but agreed to check. 3 days later, I received a thick envelope containing 5 years of medical history. I spread the documents across my dining room table. Jenny brought me coffee as I started reading. "What are you looking for?" "Evidence that she wasn't competent to execute a new will. Dementia. Alzheimer's. Anything showing cognitive decline." I found it on page 47. A note from Dr. Morrison, dated 4 months before Grandma's death, 1 month before the will was supposedly signed. "Patient showing signs of moderate cognitive impairment. Memory deficits noted. Confusion about dates and recent events. Recommend neurological evaluation for possible dementia. Discussed with Robert Patterson, who declined further testing at this time."
I read it again. Cognitive impairment. Confusion. Robert had been told Grandma needed evaluation and had refused. 1 month later, she supposedly signed a will giving him everything. "This is it," I told Jenny. "This proves she wasn't competent." "Will it hold up in court?" "It should. A doctor documented cognitive impairment. That calls into question her capacity to execute a legal document." I photographed the page and added it to my growing file of evidence. Next, I needed to talk to the witnesses who'd supposedly signed the will. According to the document, 2 witnesses had been present when Grandma signed: Martha Chen and David Rodriguez. The notary was someone named Susan Blake. I didn't recognize any of the names. I started with the notary. A quick online search showed Susan Blake was a mobile notary who advertised her services for estate planning documents. I called her. "Miss Blake, my name is Marcus Patterson. I'm calling about a will you notarized 3 months ago for Eleanor Patterson." "I'm sorry, I can't discuss client matters." "My grandmother is deceased. I'm her grandson. I'm contesting the will, and I need to ask you some questions about the circumstances of the signing." Hesitation. "What kind of questions?" "Was my grandmother alert and aware when she signed? Did she seem to understand what she was signing?" I don't remember that specific appointment. I do dozens of notarizations a month. This was a will for a woman in her 80s. Surely that stands out. "I'm sorry, I don't have any specific recollection. The document was properly executed and notarized. That's all I can tell you." She hung up, but something in her voice had been off, nervous, like she was hiding something. I tried the witnesses next. Martha Chen's phone number was disconnected. David Rodriguez didn't answer when I called, and his voicemail was full.
dead ends, or deliberate obstruction? I decided to try a different approach. I drove to Grandma's house, Robert's house now, technically, though the estate hadn't been settled yet. Robert's car was in the driveway. I knocked on the door. He answered with a scowl. "What do you want, Marcus?" "I want to look through Grandma's papers, personal documents, letters, anything she left behind." "Why?" "Because I'm contesting the will, and I have a right to examine her effects." "You have no rights here. The will is clear. Everything belongs to me." "The will isn't finalized yet. Until probate is complete, this is still Grandma's estate, and I have standing as a beneficiary under her previous will to access documents." I was bluffing. I didn't actually know if that was legally accurate, but it sounded good. Robert's jaw tightened. "You're not coming into this house." "Then I'll get a court order." "Go ahead, waste your money on lawyers. You'll lose." "We'll see." I turned to leave, then stopped. "One more thing. Dr. Morrison's notes from 4 months before Grandma died, the ones that say she had cognitive impairment, did you forget to mention that when she was supposedly signing a new will?" Robert's face went pale, just for a second. Then he recovered. "Mom had good days and bad days. The day she signed the will was a good day." "Convenient." "It's the truth." "Then you won't mind if I subpoena Dr. Morrison to testify about her mental state?" "Do whatever you want. The will is legitimate." He slammed the door. I walked back to my car, adrenaline pumping. Robert was rattled, which meant I was on the right track. Back home, I started digging into Robert's financial history. This was my specialty, following money trails, finding discrepancies. I pulled his credit report. I had access through work to databases most people couldn't reach. What I found was telling. Robert was deep in debt, credit cards maxed out, a history of late payments, 2 bankruptcies in the past 20 years. But 3 months ago, right when the will was supposedly signed, he made a large payment on one of his credit cards, $15,000. Where did that money come from? I checked Grandma's bank records. I'd gotten copies from Mr. Dawson as part of the estate documentation. 3 months ago, there had been a $15,000 withdrawal from Grandma's savings account. The notation said home repairs. But I'd visited Grandma every week. There had been no home repairs. I kept digging, found more suspicious withdrawals over the past 2 years, always with innocuous notations, medical expenses, home maintenance, car repairs. But when I cross-referenced with actual medical bills and maintenance records, the numbers didn't match. Robert had been stealing from Grandma for at least 2 years, draining her account slowly, covering his tracks with fake explanations. And when he realized she was dying, he forged a will to steal everything that was left. I had evidence now, real evidence. The medical records showing cognitive impairment, the suspicious financial transactions, the signature that didn't quite match. I called Lisa. "I need you to file the contest with me. Challenge the will formally." "What did you find?" I told her everything, the doctor's notes, the financial fraud, the signature discrepancies. Oh my God, he's been robbing her for years, and the will is just the final theft. What do we do? We hire a probate attorney, someone who specializes in will contests, and we go to war. We found an attorney, Sharon Martinez. She had a reputation for taking on difficult cases and winning. I laid everything out for her, the evidence, the timeline, the medical records. She listened carefully, taking notes. When she finished, she sat back. "You have a strong case. The medical records alone call into question her capacity. Combined with the financial fraud and the signature issues, I think we can win." "How long will it take?" "Months, maybe a year. These things don't move quickly." I don't care how long it takes. I want justice for my grandmother. Then let's file the contest. We filed the petition 3 weeks after the will was read. Formal challenge to the validity of Eleanor Patterson's last will and testament.
The grounds: lack of testamentary capacity due to cognitive impairment, undue influence by Robert Patterson, and suspected forgery of the testator's signature. Robert's attorney responded with a motion to dismiss. The will was valid, properly executed, and reflected Eleanor's true wishes. The judge denied the motion to dismiss, ordered both sides to proceed with discovery. That's when things got ugly. Robert called me at work. "You're making a huge mistake." Am I? Because I have medical records that say Grandma was cognitively impaired when she supposedly signed that will. Those records are taken out of context. And the financial fraud, the $15,000 you stole from her account? I didn't steal anything. Mom gave me that money. For home repairs that never happened? You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm a forensic accountant, Robert. Following money is literally my job, and I've found years of suspicious transactions from Grandma's accounts to yours. Those were gifts. Mom was generous. Gifts disguised as expenses? That's called embezzlement. This is ridiculous. Mom wanted me to have her estate, accept it and move on. No, I'm going to prove you forged that will, and when I do, you're not just losing the inheritance, you're going to jail. He hung up.
Is it? Because the pressure points are wrong. The stroke patterns don't match. Someone traced over an existing signature but couldn't replicate the natural muscle movements. Someone who'd practiced copying her signature but couldn't get it quite right. Robert stood up. "I'm done with this conversation." "Sit down. I'm not finished." "We're done. Talk to my lawyer." "I also know about the embezzlement." He froze, turned back to me. "What embezzlement?" "The $15,000 you stole from Grandma's accounts 3 months ago, the one you claimed was for home repairs that never happened, and the dozens of other withdrawals over the past 2 years, medical expenses that don't match actual medical bills, car repairs for a car that was never in the shop. You've been stealing from her for years. Those were gifts. Mom was taking care of me." "Gifts disguised as expenses? That's fraud, Robert. That's embezzlement, and I have the records to prove it." He sat back down. His hands were shaking. "What do you want?" he asked quietly. "I want you to admit what you did." "I can't do that." "Why not? Because you know you'll go to jail?" "Because I didn't do anything wrong." "You forged Grandma's will. You paid witnesses to sign a false document. You stole money from her accounts for years. Those are crimes, multiple felonies. You can't prove any of this. I can prove all of it. I have Dr. Morrison's medical records showing Grandma wasn't competent. I have the handwriting analysis showing the signatures forged. I have witness statements from David and Martha admitting they were paid. I have bank records showing years of suspicious transactions. I have everything I need to bury you." He put his head in his hands. "You don't understand. I needed that money. I was drowning. The debts, the bills, I couldn't keep up." "So you stole from your dying mother?" "I took care of her. For 5 years, I gave up my life to take care of her. And you helped yourself to her money while you did it. She wouldn't have missed it. She had more than enough. That's not the point. It wasn't yours to take." He looked up at me. "What do you want, Marcus? You want me to confess? You want me to go to the police and turn myself in?" "I want you to tell me the truth. All of it. How you forged the will, when you forged it, why." He was quiet for a long time. I thought he might get up and leave, but then he started talking. "She didn't change her will. She didn't even know about the new will. I created it myself." "How?" "I found her old will, the one from 10 years ago. I scanned her signature, practiced copying it, created a new document on my computer, made it look official, legal language, proper formatting, everything.
And the witnesses? David and Martha signed it. I told them Mom was too sick to have people in her room, that the notary would verify her signature separately. I paid them to sign without asking questions. And the notary? Susan Blake. I paid her too. More than the witnesses. $2,000 to notarize without actually seeing Mom sign. She's done it before for other people. It's not that uncommon. It's fraud. I know, but I was desperate. I'd been taking money from Mom's accounts for 2 years, enough to keep me afloat. But I knew when she died, you and Lisa would go through everything. You'd find the missing money. I needed a way to make sure you couldn't come after me, so I made a will that gave me everything. That way, it would all be mine legally. You couldn't challenge the missing money because it would all belong to me anyway. Except we did challenge it. I didn't think you would. I thought you'd accept it, be disappointed, but move on. You don't know me very well then. I guess not. He looked defeated, broken. Nothing like the confident man who'd sat across from me at Mr. Dawson's office a month ago. What happens now? He asked. Now, you're going to make a statement. A formal confession. You're going to admit to forging the will, bribing the witnesses, and embezzling from Grandma's accounts. And if I don't, then I take all my evidence to the police and the prosecutor, and you go to trial, and you spend the next 10 years in prison. But if you confess now, if you cooperate, maybe you get a plea deal. Maybe you do less time. You'd really send me to prison? You're not family anymore, Robert. Family doesn't steal from dying mothers. You're a criminal who happens to share my last name, and yes, I'll send you to prison without a second thought. He nodded slowly. Okay, I'll confess. I'll tell them everything. Good. We're going to the police station right now, and you're going to tell them exactly what you told me. We stood up. I grabbed my phone, made sure the recording was saved. Then I drove Robert to the police station. Detective Sarah Kim took a statement. I sat in the waiting area, listening through the door as Robert confessed to everything. The forgery, the bribery, the embezzlement, all of it. 2 hours later, Detective Kim came out. We're charging him with forgery, fraud, and embezzlement. He'll be arraigned tomorrow. Given the amount of money involved, bail will likely be set high. Will he go to prison? That's up to the prosecutor and eventually a judge. But with the confession and all the evidence you've gathered, yeah, he's going to prison. I called Lisa from the parking lot. It's over. Robert confessed. The will is invalid. She started crying. Thank God. I can't believe he actually did it. I kept hoping there was an explanation. There was an explanation. He's a thief and a liar. What happens to the estate now? It reverts to Grandma's previous will, the one from 10 years ago. Split 3 ways between you, me, and Robert, though Robert will probably have to forfeit his share as part of his sentence. So we get the house. We get the house and the rest of the estate, like Grandma wanted. I went home to Jenny and the kids, told them everything. I can't believe your uncle did that. I can't either, but the evidence doesn't lie. He stole from Grandma, he forged her will, and now he's going to pay for it. How do you feel? Relieved, angry, sad, all of it at once. Sad?
He was family. He's my father's brother. I remember him from when I was a kid, before he became this. And it's sad that it ended this way. But you did the right thing. I did, but that doesn't make it easy. The next week, the story made the local news. Local man charged with forging mother's will, embezzling hundreds of thousands. The article detailed Robert's crimes, the forged will, the paid witnesses, the years of theft from Eleanor Patterson's accounts. My phone rang constantly. Friends, distant relatives, people wanting to know the details, to express shock, to offer support. I ignored most of them, focused on working with Sharon Martinez to invalidate the fraudulent will and settle the estate properly. Mr. Dawson called to apologize. I should have caught it. The signature, the witnesses. I should have been more careful. You trusted the documents that were presented to you. That's not your fault. Still, I'm sorry you had to go through this. The probate court hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks later. Robert was still in jail, unable to make bail. His attorney tried to argue that the confession was coerced, that the evidence was circumstantial. But Dr. Vance testified about the forged signature. Dr. Morrison testified about Grandma's cognitive impairment. David Rodriguez and Martha Chen admitted they'd been paid to sign as witnesses without Grandma present. The judge's ruling was swift and decisive. The will dated 3 months before Eleanor Patterson's death is invalid. It was procured through fraud. The previous will, dated 10 years ago, is hereby reinstated as Mrs. Patterson's last valid testament. Robert's attorney requested leniency, argued that Robert had been under financial stress, that he'd cared for his mother for years, that he deserved consideration. The prosecutor was less sympathetic. Mr. Patterson exploited his dying mother. He stole from her systematically for years, then he forged her will to cover up his crimes. This wasn't a momentary lapse of judgment. This was calculated, premeditated fraud. Robert was sentenced to 7 years in prison. He'd also have to pay restitution, every penny he'd stolen, plus damages. His share of Grandma's estate would be held in trust to pay back what he owed. Lisa and I inherited Grandma's house, her savings, her investments, everything she'd wanted us to have. But the victory felt hollow. We'd won, but we'd also lost a family member, discovered someone we'd trusted was capable of terrible things. And Grandma was still gone. The house was still empty. The inheritance couldn't bring her back. The house sat empty for 3 months after Robert's sentencing. Lisa and I couldn't bring ourselves to go inside. It felt wrong, like we were intruding on Grandma's space, like we were claiming something that didn't belong to us, even though legally it now did. We need to deal with it, Lisa said finally. We can't just leave it sitting there. I know, I don't know if I can go back there after everything. Me neither. But we have to. We need to go through her things, decide what to keep, what to donate. We owe her that much. She was right. So on a Saturday morning in early fall, Lisa and I met at the house. Our house now. The house Grandma wanted us to have. I unlocked the door with the key Mr. Dawson had given me, stepped inside. Everything was exactly as Grandma had left it. Her reading glasses on the side table, a book marked halfway through, the Afghan she'd been knitting draped over her favorite chair. It smelled like her, lavender and vanilla and old books. Lisa started crying the moment we walked in. I miss her so much. Me too. We stood in the living room, overwhelmed by the presence of her absence. Where do we start? Lisa asked. I don't know. Maybe kitchen? We spent the day sorting through Grandma's belongings. It was harder than I'd expected. Every item had a memory attached. The teacups she'd served us hot chocolate in when we were kids, the photo albums documenting our childhood, the quilt she'd made for my wedding, the necklace she always wore, and underneath, a letter, addressed to me and Lisa in Grandma's handwriting. Lisa, look at this. She came over. We opened it together. My dear Marcus and Lisa, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I hope that means you're in this house together, going through my things, remembering me with love. I want you to know that this house was always meant for you, for your families, for your children. I bought it with your grandfather 50 years ago, with the dream that it would be filled with family for generations. Don't sell it if you can help it. Keep it. Use it. Fill it with laughter and holidays and memories. Let your children play in the same backyard where your father played, where you played. I know Robert will want it too. But Robert has always taken more than he's given. I love my son, but I know his weaknesses. That's why I made sure, in my real will, that the house would go to you and Lisa. Because you'll treasure it. You'll keep it in the family. Whatever happens, know that I loved you both more than words can say. You were the lights of my life, the joy of my old age. And I'm so proud of the people you've become. Take care of each other. Honor each other. And when you think of me, smile. I had a beautiful life because of this family. All my love. Grandma. We were both crying by the time we finished reading. She knew, Lisa said. She knew Robert would try something. And she made sure we'd get the house anyway. That's why she was so specific in her original will. What do we do? Keep it like she asked? I looked around the bedroom, at the familiar furniture, the photos on the walls, the space that held so many memories. I think we should, at least for now. We could use it for holidays, family gatherings, keep it as a place for everyone to come together. I'd like that. Over the next months, Lisa and I slowly made the house ours, while keeping it Grandma's. We donated most of her clothes, kept the items that had sentimental value, distributed jewelry among family members who'd appreciate it. We updated some things, new paint, modern appliances, but we kept the bones of the house the same. The layout, the character, the feeling of home. And we started using it. Sunday dinners, holiday gatherings, birthday parties for the kids. The house came alive again, filled with family, just like Grandma had wanted. My children, who'd known Grandma when they were young, loved having a place filled with her presence. They'd ask about the photos on the walls, the stories behind various objects. This was Great-Grandma's house? It was. And now it's ours, but it'll always be a little bit hers too. I like that.
The financial aspect took longer to settle. Robert's restitution was substantial, over $300,000 in stolen funds, plus damages and legal fees. His third of the estate went into a trust to pay it back. Even after prison, he'd be paying for years. Lisa and I split the remainder. The house, the savings, the investments. It was more money than either of us had expected, enough to secure our children's education, to pay off mortgages, to build financial stability for our families. Grandma wanted us to be taken care of, Lisa said. This is her taking care of us one last time. We should do something in her memory, something meaningful. Like what? A scholarship, maybe. For kids who've lost parents, like we did. Lisa's eyes filled with tears. She'd love that. We established the Eleanor Patterson Memorial Scholarship, full ride to State University for a student who'd lost one or both parents, renewable for 4 years. The first recipient was a girl named Maria, 17, lost her mother to cancer, wanted to be a nurse. Thank you, she said when we met her. This is everything. I couldn't have afforded college without this. You earned it, I told her. My grandmother would have been proud to help you. As for Robert, I struggled with what to feel. Anger. Definitely anger. He'd stolen from Grandma, betrayed the family, committed serious crimes. But also sadness. He was my father's brother, part of my history, and he destroyed his life through greed and desperation. Jenny encouraged me to write him a letter. You don't have to send it, but get your feelings out. Process what happened. I did write it.
Late one night, sitting in Grandma's house, our house, at the desk where she used to pay bills. Robert, I don't know if I'll ever send this letter. I don't know if I even want to communicate with you, but I need to say these things, even if just for myself. You stole from Grandma. You forged her will. You betrayed the trust she placed in you when she let you into her home. But more than that, you stole from me and Lisa. Not just the inheritance. We would have shared that with you if you'd been honest. You stole our uncle, our family, our sense that we could trust the people we love. I'm angry at you. I'll probably always be angry at you. But I'm also sad for you, because you had a choice. You could have asked for help, could have been honest about your financial struggles, could have worked with us to find a solution. Instead, you chose crime. And now you've lost everything. Your freedom, your family, your mother's love and respect. I hope prison gives you time to think about what you did, to understand the harm you caused, to become someone different than the person who forged that will. I don't know if I'll ever forgive you, but I hope for your sake that you find a way to forgive yourself and make amends. Marcus. I didn't send it. I put it in a drawer in Grandma's desk. Maybe someday I would. Maybe not. What mattered was getting it out of my system. Lisa took it harder than I expected. She'd always been closer to Robert, had defended him longer. I feel so stupid, she said one day over coffee. I believed him. I thought you were being paranoid when you said he was stealing. I defended him. You trusted family. That's not stupid. But I should have seen it. The signs were there. We both missed them. He was good at hiding it. How do we trust anyone again? If family can do this, we trust carefully. We verify. We don't assume, but we also don't let one person's betrayal poison all our relationships. That's what you tell yourself? It's what I'm trying to believe. The hardest part was explaining everything to our children. They'd known Uncle Robert, liked him, didn't understand why he was in prison. Uncle Robert did something bad. He stole from great-grandma, and that's against the law. Why did he steal from her? Because he wanted money, and he made a bad choice. Instead of asking for help, he took things that didn't belong to him. Is he sorry? I think so. But sorry doesn't undo what he did. Will we see him again? I don't know. Maybe someday. But not for a long time. Yes, he committed crimes. He had to face consequences. But he's still family. Was family. He made his choice, I guess. We finished cleaning in silence. Then Lisa hugged me. Thank you for fighting for this, for not letting him get away with it. You fought too, but you started it. You found the evidence. You would let it go. If it had been up to me, I might have just accepted the will and walked away. We'd both be a lot poorer, and Robert would have gotten away with stealing from Grandma. Exactly. So thank you. I drove home that night thinking about everything that had happened. The discovery, The investigation, the confrontation, the trial, the resolution. It had been hard, painful, family destroying, but necessary. Because Grandma deserved justice, deserved to have her wishes honored, deserved to know her grandchildren would fight for her, even after she was gone. And we had fought. We'd uncovered the fraud. We'd buried Robert's lies forever. Not with violence, not with revenge, but with truth, with evidence, with persistence, the way Grandma would have wanted. That was 5 years ago. I'm sitting in Grandma's library right now, the room she used to read in every afternoon. Lisa and I converted it into a proper family library, with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and comfortable chairs by the window. The house is full this weekend. Lisa's family is staying over. My kids are playing in the backyard with their cousins, the same backyard where my father played as a child, where I played, where Grandma used to watch us from the kitchen window. The house is alive, just like she wanted. We've hosted every major holiday here for 5 years now. Christmas mornings with stockings hung on the mantle, Easter egg hunts in the garden, Thanksgiving dinners in the dining room, birthday parties, graduations, celebrations of all kinds. The Eleanor Patterson house. That's what we call it. Not our house, hers. We're just the caretakers. The scholarship we created in her name has put 12 students through college. Maria, the first recipient, graduated last year with her nursing degree. She sent us a photo in her scrubs on her first day of work. She wrote, "I'm here because of your grandmother. I'll never forget that." Grandma's legacy lives on in ways I never expected, not just in the house or the scholarship, but in the lessons her story taught us. About trust, about verification, about the importance of protecting the vulnerable, about how love and greed can coexist in the same person, how family members can betray you, how you have to be vigilant, even with the people you're supposed to trust most, but also about resilience, about fighting for what's right, about truth eventually prevailing. Robert served 4 years of his 7-year sentence, got out early for good behavior. He's living in a halfway house now, working as a janitor at an office building, paying back his restitution slowly, $100 a month from his minimum wage job. It'll take him 30 years to pay back what he stole. He wrote to me again last year, asked if he could see the house one more time, said he wanted to apologize in person, to make amends. I talked to Lisa about it. She was hesitant. What if it's just another manipulation? Maybe it is, but he's paid his debt to society. Maybe he deserves a chance. We invited him to Sunday dinner, just once, to see how it went. He came, thinner, older, humbled. He stood in the doorway of the house he'd tried to steal and cried, "I'm so sorry for everything, for what I did to Mom, to you both, to this family." We let him say his piece, didn't offer forgiveness, didn't pretend everything was fine, but we listened. And when he left, I told him he could come back. Once a month, Sunday dinners, as long as he stayed sober, stayed employed, stayed on the path he claimed to be on. "You're still family," I said. "Broken, damaged, but still family. Grandma would want us to give you a chance." He's come to 3 dinners so far. Sits quietly, answers questions when asked, plays with the kids when invited, doesn't presume, doesn't assume. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust him again. Neither does Lisa, but we're trying. For Grandma, for the idea that people can change. And maybe, slowly, he is changing. The investigation taught me things I use in my work now. I've helped 3 other families uncover estate fraud,
forged wills, financial exploitation of elderly relatives. Each time I think of Grandma, of how vulnerable she was, of how Robert exploited that vulnerability, and I make sure the perpetrators face justice, just like Robert did. Jenny says I have a mission now. You're protecting grandmothers everywhere. Maybe I am. Or maybe I'm just making sure Grandma's story, her exploitation, her vindication, meant something. My daughter comes running in from the backyard. She's 11 now, the same age I was when I came to live with Grandma. Dad, can we have dinner in the dining room, the fancy one like great grandma used to? Absolutely. Go tell everyone to wash up. She runs off, full of energy and joy, growing up in the house that was meant for her, building memories that will last her a lifetime. That's what Grandma wanted. Not the money, not the house itself, but the continuation of family, of love, of tradition. Robert almost stole that from us, almost succeeded in fragmenting our family, selling off our history, erasing Grandma's legacy. But he didn't succeed because we fought back, because we uncovered the truth, because we refused to let lies bury what Grandma had built. What I dug up didn't just bury Robert's fraud. It resurrected Grandma's true wishes, her real legacy, her vision for this family. And that legacy is here. In this house, in these Sunday dinners, in the laughter of children playing in the yard, in the scholarship students graduating with nursing degrees, in the family gathered around a table, telling stories, making memories. Robert's fraud is a footnote now, a dark chapter in our family history, but not the defining one. Grandma's love is the defining chapter, her generosity, her vision, her sacrifice. That's what we remember. That's what we honor. That's what lives on. I walk to the kitchen where Lisa is setting the table. The same table where Grandma served thousands of meals, where she taught us to cook, to laugh, to be family. Ready? Lisa asks. Ready. We call everyone in. 23 people now. The family has grown. New marriages, new babies, new generations starting their story in this house. We sit down together, and before we eat, I raise my glass to Grandma Eleanor, who gave us this house, who taught us what family means, who trusted us to carry on her legacy. We love you, we miss you, and we promise to keep this house filled with family for as long as we're able. To Grandma. Everyone echoes, and somewhere, I like to think she's watching, smiling, knowing that what she built survived, that truth prevailed, that love won. The house is full, the family is together, and the legacy lives on, just like she planned.